Yeah, but hey, there we go. Hey, everybody, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Tom.
This is Agency Real Talk. That's the name for real this time, pretty sure. We talk about how to launch your agency and scale it
For real.
because we're Real Talk. See, if you have an agency that's doing less than $1 million a year, good news. We're in the trenches growing our business right through that size, too.
So listen in if you want to hear a whole bunch of learnings that Trevor and I have had from our current agencies and our previous agencies and what we're doing to be more efficient and scale.
Today's episode, as you can see from our Chiron down below, is comp for your team. Your team, how to compensate them, how to make sure that you're treating them right.
There's a couple of different ways to give compensation. Salary is usually the most popular, or hourly compensation, right? You're going to pay somebody for the time that they spend working on your business. But there's a couple other ways too. Profit sharing is a famous one that Trevor has implemented at his agency. And
Yes.
we're going to catch up this year on doing some profit sharing at our agency. And also
Excellent.
equity. And does equity actually mean anything or is valuable at all? Trevor,
Yeah.
talk to me about it.
I got opinions. I'm a grumpy old man. So one thing I this may or may not be a spicy take. I don't know. I detest paying employees hourly. I also don't bill hourly. I find both of these things are bad because the better you are at your job, the less you make. And you can argue I'm billing at 400 an hour when I'm billing. I don't think I'm actually billing at more than somebody who's billing at 25 an hour is billing if it's something that I know how to do and they don't, because they're going to take more than 8 times longer than I do. Like I was with a buddy of mine, a client, I should say, who we had built some minimum viable sprints. That's my whole marketing thing. If you don't know, catch up. I'm sorry, but they're very light, easy to run ads. And so we done all the copy and all the design. Just like now, all you have to do is buy them. And we had 9 minutes for my next call. You had to buy 9 ads. But forever, it would take me forever. Can you do it? And I'm like, 9 minutes? I can't. I'm gonna be waiting too long on loading screens to get done. Time. He's like, Trevor, give it a try. Maybe you'll get it done. It did take me 11 minutes in the end to buy 9 complete ads. And he's like, last time we did this, I bought 3. It took me 4 hours. I'm like, well, there you go, right? Now, he'd be faster because he's bought 3, but would he be that much faster? I don't think so. So paying somebody hourly, if you paid me hourly and you paid my client Alex hourly, he'd actually be earning more than I am.
Hmm.
Right? That's stupid. So paying your team hourly and getting paid yourself hourly, both of these things, I repudiate, I rebuke, I reject, I abjure. Pay on the value provided, not the labor done.
Yes, yes. Well, that is why the whole productized services thing started really taking foothold in the last few years. Like hourly based compensation is just not an accurate way of communicating value created. Productized services tend to be closer to being accurate. It's also more predictable from a timeline deliverable standpoint. You can create specializations, create some automations that will help you do that productized service a little bit more, but this is not about productized service. We're talking about
This
comp
is
for the
not.
team,
This is comp.
and hourly based comp for the team disincentivizes certain things, and really isn't the best way to align the team with hopefully growth for the entire organization. So you figured out a way to do that, uh, taking a page out of the old pirate book. Tell
Yar.
me about profit sharing at Crowdsavers.
Sure. There's a very specific reason also why I did this. And when I was building crowd tamers, there's like the 3 reason agencies suck. Right. One of them we've already discussed. Hourly pay is a bad way to do it. Another is you overwork your team because, and you overwork them because you're incentivized to not hire because hiring is expensive. And it's easier for you to say, well, let me have you work 50 hours this week and every week because I'm heartless. And then you eventually burn out and quit because you're like, agency work is too high tempo for me, whatever. And you aren't usually giving the person who has to work those 50 hours a week any reason to keep doing it other than, well, you get a paycheck twice a month or every other week or once a month, depending on how you comp. I won't talk about that. Okay, so if you don't give them a reason to care about the times when the workload increases, then increasing the workload is an imposition. They go look for somewhere else. All right. So, de risking hiring, the best way to do it, and I've not consistently been good at this, is to hire somebody for a small salary, as small as you can, and then say, hey, look, we're all in this way under market, right? I'm a grumpy old CMO. I could join a Series B funded startup for 400K a year in total comp. Have I made 400K a year for me with my business yet? No, I have not. So, okay, I'm working under market. Everybody works under market. But when we win, we all win. If we have just a giant torrent of client work that we're billing for, and then we all earn more money in the company, also I profit share out. And I took out the biggest percentage I felt I could do without severely impacting the long term survival of the business. And so I said 28% of the revenue coming in is shared with the team, which is crazy high. I don't know of anybody else who's profit sharing that much.
You say that again? You said you profit share 28% of your
28%.
profit on an
28%.
annual basis, quarterly, like what
Quarterly.
quarterly basis. So every quarter, whatever the profit is for that quarter on a cash basis, I'm
Mm-hmm.
imagining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
on a
not doing
cash.
like if I booked 400K but I didn't get the money yet, guess what, guys? You'll get the money when I do.
Yeah, yeah, right. So 28% of the profit realized on a cash basis on a quarterly basis,
Mm-hmm.
you're divvying up among the team. And
Among
how
the
do
team.
you what is a share
Yeah. Let's
of that
let's talk
profit
about
share?
that. That's the piratical part, right? So we've had really good mechanisms for profit sharing in place for literally hundreds of years. And you go back to East India Company, or even back to the pirates and the Buccaneers and the Caribbean and like the Mediterranean. These people worked out a means to compensate everybody for the risks taken in a manner that everybody found equitable. And so when I was like, well, how do I build a comp plan that's around the same for my business? I went, okay, well, let me go see what has been done. And something that it feels extremely Baroque now, but it's clearly not that complicated because illiterate sailors in 1722 would know how much money they were going to make. They were, of course, directly motivated to care. But you say, all right, so you have all the profit that this pirate ship generates. Half of it immediately goes to the owner, doesn't get shared with you. Great. Of the other half, we then divvy up. Usually the captain gets a big chunk because he's the one who took the boat out and brought it back. And probably some people died, but you can't break an island without killing a few sailors. It's fine. So the remaining, usually it's around 28%, which is also where this came from, gets
Hmm.
divvied up into shares. And every crew member gets some share of this profits. And you can divvy the shares up. I'll make the math simple because I'm not very smart. Let's say we have 5 employees. We have $10,000 in profit that we're divvying up. If every employee has an equal share, they each get $2,000 because they're each seeing one share, right? So
Simple
10,000 divided
enough.
by 5. But you can say, hey, actually, we have 10 shares issued. Each are worth $1,000. But this employee gets 2 shares. So they get 2,000. This employee gets 4 shares. They're getting 4,000. Now there's only 6,000 left, 3, 3, and 3. Now we still giving away the 10K, but based off of the contribution you're making to the company, the shares you get change. And in the big sailing vessels, you'd have down to a quarter share, which is for the rated seaman, which is the lowest. Like this person probably won't inadvertently jump off the boat and drown. Like that's the lowest level of competency there. Call it your junior intern. Uh, all the way up to people like your coxswain and your carpenter and your ship's surgeon might get double shares. Your quartermaster gets double, triple share. Your captain gets 8 times share. So like all this works out. Okay. So then you say, great. In your team, you can assign, individual contributor, senior individual contributor, manager, team lead, and they all get different amounts of shares and they know up front. So if you tell your team, hey, we did $44,000 in profit this quarter, and there's 22 shares in the company and I have this many of those shares,
Mm-hmm.
I can take out my phone and work out in 30 or 40 seconds what my profit share will be. Good for me.
Yeah.
And that, provided that people feel that the ranking system by which you earn more shares is transparent and equitable, it really does give people this, okay, so you can try to earn more salary, which is risky for the company because if we have a good month, we have a bad month. Meh. Or you can say, as you level up in the company, your base pay increases a little, but you get another share of the profit share. Then you go,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's worth maybe 3, 4, 8, 10, 20, whatever $1,000 to me a year that I got, but only if the company succeeds. So it removes a lot of the risk the business owner by profit sharing really aggressively. People know that like I take so of the owner's share, right? The 72% that's not a profit share. 66% of that is just cash flow for the company, right? It goes into the company's like account to work with. And then the 33% 72, which is 20 something, less than whatever, like that is owner's profit share. I get that. But, that's also right now, like what I was using it for last year was all of the dumb ideas. I thought, let me try this out and see how it goes. And the
Mm-hmm.
answer to all of those for me was, well, you lost that money, Trevor. Don't do it. But hey, that's okay. We all have to be dumb occasionally. So that profit sharing system is not my invention. It is time tested. It is something that illiterate sailors understood and felt motivated by. And I don't want to compare any of my team to illiterate sailors because they're way smarter than that. But it also means they easily grasp the concept too and don't have to wonder what's comp look like.
I think that's the most valuable aspect of the profit sharing system you've established is that it doesn't take a whole lot to understand it from the
Yeah.
beginning. Just to say, hey, we have this many shares, this level of seniority gets this many shares of the profit. X percentage of the profit every quarter goes back to the team. It's one of the reasons that I'm really excited to establish a profit sharing system inside of X-Ray. I just think it's a great attribute to have because you have direct comp, which is like a short-term need. And then you have profit sharing, which is more of like a medium quarterly annual
Yeah.
need kind of being met. It allows people to feel like they won when the company is winning. And,
Yes.
and I think that alignment of incentives is really important. And the last thing that we didn't talk about yet is equity, full blown
Yeah.
equity in ownership of the company, whether or not that even comes with dollars, right? There's a lot of questions that come with equity because now you have a fiduciary responsibility. If you have investors, now you have to manage those relationships, and really equity is worthless unless there is a liquidity event, unless there's an
Yes.
acquisition, unless there's a merger of some kind, unless there's an investment, something to take money out. And equity requires that liquidity event in order for it to be liquid.
Yeah.
So profit sharing is like a really interesting, medium term incentive aligning function that you could add into your organization as especially as an agency with the huge variety of work that you have and the boom or bust nature of agencies generally. Having everybody self-identify that they are on the boat with you, and when the company wins, they also win is just a great. I really think it's a release valve
Yeah.
in a lot of ways from the agency being under pressure to hit the 150K worth of payroll every month that you theoretically could have
Yeah.
very easily. So profit sharing is certainly interesting on that.
And it's led to some interesting discussions for me. So my team, they're all remote, right? I've got 2 people in India, 2 in Africa, 1 in, I don't know where he is these days. He's somewhere, whatever. He lives in a van. He travels. Good for him. Um, and we had hired here in Canada, and I had reason for doing it. Um, a project manager to help run the business, like the workload. And basically, the month I hired that person was when the business stopped growing in 2022, and then we earned less money every single month until that person got hired by somebody else. They joined a bigger company, and then our fortunes turned, which, speaking of sailors, that looks like an albatross to me. It's bad luck, it's considered in the sailing industry. And then, you throw the albatross overboard, and then you stop being becalmed. That's the old superstition. I'm not saying that employee was an albatross, but it looks that way. So, the but that hiring process, like the team was on board with, let's do it. We need PM. Things were going gangbusters. We were doing like 60, 70 a month. Sure, let's go. It's great. Um, but now we're digging our way out of the hole again, right? I've had, like, I'm probably going to do, I don't know, somewhere between 35 and 45 this month. Like, okay, cool. We're climbing our way back up from, I mean, I had some $10,000 months last year, right? Like, that's grim. Uh, and now I'm like, so we're getting ready to need a PM again. And the team is saying to me, yes, but maybe let's not do that again. How do we bring somebody on board part time first? Make sure that project managers aren't just bad luck for this company.
Hmm.
Can we share the workload amongst ourselves first, and then when we really prove the need, bring a person on too? Which, as a business owner, that entrepreneurial mindset is what you really want. You want folks to say, "Hey, can we make this work?" Until we know we have to spend. As the business owner, you're like, Jesus, yes, I would love to also be able to do that, and to have the employees leading that conversation is really quite. It changes the dynamic
Yeah.
of how leadership is working in the company, but in a way that I'm okay with. Some people might be like, "Don't question my orders, serfs.
Yeah.
Back to work." That's the way I work, right? And if you're not that particular kind of a hole, having your employees want to have these conversations of, okay, why are we doing this? How does it affect my bottom line? Can I do something in the interim to help us earn more money so I earn more money? Like, any entrepreneur should be happy to have their team ask these questions.
It's a great mindset to instill, and it is a hard mindset to instill. And it's
Yeah.
amazing to me that, one or two economic levers that you pulled inside of crowdtamers allows the adoption of that mindset, that owner's mindset to say, you know what if we just went a little bit longer? What if we optimized a little bit more before we take that extra jump? It's great. It's really great.
And so we
Um,
get the point. Speaking of productized services, and also a lot of
yeah,
agencies are doing, like I am. I've got a course, right? And I'm not really selling my course. I'm crap at selling my course because, in part, I need to have cash flow to sell it. I didn't have any cash to flow, right? Things are changing now, so I'll be able to actually begin to build the engine for this. Um, that's pure profit, right? The course is like 97% margin. The only subtraction in my margin is the credit card fees. And so you can say, look, the team isn't driving the value here. I made a course. I did it. But I'm also like, well, no, right? My team is a performance marketing team and also a social media team. And so in both cases, they're going to own, the same way I have a client, right? They're
yeah,
going to own the project of launch and grow this. And then if it grows, they were responsible for it because they led the project successfully to where we're doing, $10,000 a week in sales for the course.
yeah,
Awesome, right? That profit share goes back into the company. When you're building a SaaS product or just a very high margin product, you can be tempted to say, well, let me not be as generous with the profit share because my team didn't really drive, like it was more me or whatever. Like, don't try and split those hairs, right? If my company does $1 million this next year, it won't. But if it did, and I could pay out $250,000 to my team, which would be, I mean, there's only five of us, right? They're each getting a big check. Like, I will be super happy. They'll be freaking happy too, but I'll be super happy because we made this win happen together. And I think a lot of people try to capture all the wins for the founder, right? The
yeah.
founder needs to get all this. I think that's bad capitalism. I think you're better having five millionaires in your company than you are having a decimillionaire or a centimillionaire and then the peons.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I think profit sharing is the way to achieve that at scale,
Yeah.
right? When you have 10, 15, 20, 200 employees that are engaged in a profit sharing system, it really, really, really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So there's two other concepts I want to talk about today.
Equity, we didn't really get to. We can talk about
Yeah,
equity real quick.
we didn't get to a little bit of retention of talent, and a little bit we didn't touch market research yet. But I wanted to talk
Okay.
about GMs
Yeah.
and general managers, and I wanted to talk about if you just the 24 versus 28 payroll cycles in a year.
Yeah. I,
I
I
think
skipped
that
that whole thing, but I know it's a thing
I
we
know.
do.
Just if this is your first agency, I have to say this because this is a huge mistake I made in my first agency. Was we paid people every other week? Every 2 weeks was a payroll cycle. Now, what ends up happening, if you haven't noticed yet, is twice a year you have 3 payroll cycles in 2 months.
In
Right?
in in
There's
1 month.
three payroll
Oh.
cycles in 1 month. That happens twice in
Oh,
two
yes.
separate months,
Yes.
which is just terrible for cash flow
Yes. Yes.
and makes it nearly impossible for you to really understand if you are making money or not, especially if you're working on a cash basis. So,
Yeah.
switching that to twice a month instead of once every 2 weeks will remove that from being an issue. You just have slightly bigger paychecks going out every, couple of weeks or so, right? Twice a month.
Yeah.
Um, so switching that from 26 to 24 payrolls will just make cash flow so much smoother throughout the year. And you'll be able to actually see whether or not you're making money. So there's my little 24 to 26 weeks, or 24 to 26 payrolls in a year. It's just such a headache before we made that switch. And
Or
or
if
you
you're
do
bad at
what Trevor
accounting like
does.
me, once a month. Once a month. I don't understand why. Like, I don't even get the idea why I would want to run payroll twice a month or every 2 weeks. Either way, that just seems like a net loss in every way for me because I have more bookkeeping to do, which I detest, and more time spent freaking around wiring money to people, which it's maybe only an hour, but it's still an hour I could spend doing something other than freaking around with banks, which is not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, look, you're a grown up. All my employees are. I'm not their first job. Like they've got their life pretty much figured out on the basics. And I go, hey, you get paid on the last Friday of the month, and then you need to have enough money to pay rent and groceries until the next last Friday. Just make it work, bud.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting, especially in your, I'd say, global team, right, or around the world, is the way that you do market research around market
Yeah.
rate and cost of living increases
Mm.
for pay raises. Talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit. How you do that?
I will give credit to one of my team members, Somya, because I didn't think about this. I mean, I knew this, and I had done before a couple times when hiring. I had done how do you find out market rate? What I hadn't done was think about, okay, but how do you retain your talent by
Mm,
thinking about cost of living increases? So when you're looking to hire, there's two ways when you're hiring remote you can go. One is you can say, look, we pay this amount. This is the value of the job, right? 70K. If I hire you in um, Mumbai or in Boston, you were paid 70K. This is a problem because I can't find really top people in Boston for 70K. You can find really good folks in Mumbai for 70K, no question. But it's hard to know what the actual market price is there. So there's two things I do. One is I go look at current job postings and see what's in that market, right? Not remote worker job postings, but if I'm looking to hire somebody in Mumbai or somebody in Lagos or whatever, I look and see what are they paying there right now.
hmm
And you can also look at data from salary.com and Glassdoor. Or so that's one data point. The other data point I would take is in a market that I know well, in this case now it's Montreal, look up the pricing and what actually they're paying here, and then compare what that quality of life costs in the city you're looking at. Because there's two possibilities. One is that job is under comped to the market there. So to give numbers to make this real, right? Let's say there's 10K a month in Montreal, what I'd pay for a good GM, right? I know that's a good price for GM Montreal, but let's say it is 10K a month in Montreal. But I have a candidate who I know in Manila is outstanding, but 10K a month that's full on into hookers and blow drug money over there, right? Like that's insane comp. So do I say what's the quality of life you get? What income percentile are you in Montreal for 10K a month? And then what gets you that in Manila? So I look at that data point. I look at what the GMs are being paid in Manila. I kind of see, are these close together? Or is it, a GM in Manila to get the quality of life that 10K a month would get you in Montreal, they get paid two a month there. But GM jobs are all paying 6K a month there. Okay, well, there's a disconnect in why. And the answer in part probably be, well, a good GM can just get work somewhere remote. Okay.
Yeah.
But it gives you a reason to say, all right, 6K a month is insane quality of life for you here in Manila. Good for you. Can I bring you down on salary to bring you up on profit share and other comp?
Profit sharing.
Right. Gives you some room to understand what they expect, what the market bears. Like, so all of this. And then governments release what their cost of living increases are year to year. We just show what was inflation this year. And they always lie. They always underreport. Like living here in Canada, they're like cost of living increased 7% last year. And I'm like, the heck it did. It went up more like 14 if you look at things other than the prices of televisions and cars. So, okay. Then you got to look at true cost of living increase. And again, you can look at things like, I like the Big Mac index because it's really easy. Right? What did a Big Mac cost a year ago? What does it cost now? That's pretty close to your true cost of living increase.
Yeah.
And in that market, not here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in Montreal these days, it's insane. I go to McDonald's, it's $25 for a Big Mac. Like if I wanted to pay $25 for bad food, I would buy a burger, burn it, give someone $15 and punch myself in the face. Like this is not what you should be paying for McDonald's quality food, right? But whatever. I go to Mumbai and I say they don't do Big Macs there because of the whole beef thing. But okay, a fish fillet sandwich, whatever, right? What was the price increase year over year? That's your actual cost of living increase. I better pay you at least that much in a pay bump.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm actually paying you less than I was a year ago. And Somia, my growth marketer, she worked with me for 5 years now. She was like, Trevor, you've got to give us a cost of living increase. This is crazy. And I'm like, profit share doesn't cover it? She's like, no, we need the foundation needs to be dependable too. And I was like, fair enough. So I took the same tools I use to figure out what market comp should be for a new job, and then just went, well, if I was hiring this person today, what would I have to pay?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's a just testament to building a solid team that can trust each other and in a economic system, that engine that you've been able to make inside of Crowd Tamers to be able to supply, very competitive comp to people all over the world. Yeah. And, there's no silver bullet here. Like the answer is not just hire everyone in your country. It's not just pretend that international talent doesn't exist, or just try to get as much for as few dollars as possible. There's a switching cost. There's a true cost to retention and not being able to retain people that you teach and you put energy and time into. So I hope this conversation has been helpful at the very least from a levers of comp discussion. They're very relevant to a lot of the things that I'm looking at right now inside of the business. And the last topic we have today is a GM. Yeah. And what a general manager is or could be or would look like inside of either your agency or a spin out of a product that you're building inside of your agency, or some offshoot joint venture that you spin out with a client maybe. Those types
someone's
of things,
been listening to me.
some of those things have happened before, and we've seen good and bad examples of. But the element of a GM that I want to just focus on for a second is you're really giving the person who is a GM the ability to feel ownership, both financially and from a pressure standpoint, right? You're saying, hey, you're the person, figure this out and make sure that it works, because otherwise the whole company is nothing, right? The GM is essentially the CEO of that organization. empowered to make decisions, and the people who gave the GM that title are hands off. They're like, it's all you, man. I'm out. I'm trying to get out of your way, right? Typically, that is the good role of the people, hiring a GM, is trying to get out of their way, trying to let them run with the opportunity that they've already established, and hopefully aligning incentives for that person to be there for a long time. So, from some anecdotal stories that I've either been around or heard from friends, joint ventures and GM hires and such, you can expect to hire a GM for sure whatever your CEO salary is for that organization, plus maybe 10-15% of the company you actually hand over to that GM, vested over 4 years, 4 or 5 years, and give them some other, metric to hit, that if they hit that growth lever, they get an extra 5% or something like that, right? And align those incentives and empower that person to be able to make the decisions that will allow the company to grow. Because if you're hiring a GM, you just got to get out of the way. Right? If you can make the job role clear enough for that GM, if the systems and the processes are consistent enough inside of the organization where you can explain it to somebody, invite them in, and then have them drive, then you should seriously consider giving that person comp that incentivizes them to be pushing down on the gas to go faster and to build the systems that they need to grow the company.
So I'm curious, right? My answer to that, because Crowd Tamers is an LLC. There's no shares. There's one share. My answer would be, there's the quadruple share. That's the captain's share.
Right.
And say, hey, you get 4x the comp of any other employee delivered every quarter. And because my intent for Crowd Tamers is never to have an equity, like a liquidity event. Right?
Liquidity event. Yeah.
It's a lifestyle business. And some people sneer at that. But honestly, if I'm doing, reliably somewhere between 500 and 900 a year, right? And that's revenue, not
You're
profit.
comfortable. You can buy as many books as you like.
I can buy as many books as I like, and finally finish the bookshelf too. Still not done up there. So at that point, why would I exit? I might get GM, and I think maybe I have the wrong view of this. I feel like COO is what you do when you don't want to get out of the way of the GM. And then GM is what you want somebody, because COO operates and improves and makes things run well. But you're like, I'm still in it. And then GM is when you're like, I would like somebody kind of like a COO, but who I don't talk to either.
Yeah, kind of.
A
GM, it's somebody you couldn't. I think a lot of times a GM is somebody you couldn't exactly hire to be on your team. They kind of need to lead the team.
They need to have it.
Like a GM is, a little too free spirited, a little too entrepreneurial, right? It's like an entrepreneur who maybe has gone, sold the company, done something on their own, tried it at least on their own, but the market was wrong, the product was wrong, the circumstances around them restricted them from being successful. And if you have an agency that is consistent enough and productize services enough, hiring a GM, that person, you're eliminating a lot of the confusion around how the mechanics of the business work, right? Because they're saying, hey, we know everything works. We've run, we made $1 million last year doing these 4 things. Grow these 4 things and don't drive it into the ground. Right? It's like, you got 2 instructions, right? Gotcha. But I just think a GM is a really interesting entrepreneurial opportunity for a lot of people who are seasoned experts in their industry, and they're not quite ready to do everything on their own, right? They're not ready to start their own company.
Having a playbook,
they still have an appetite.
Yeah,
right. They still have an appetite to lead and to have that entrepreneurial opportunity. And that's what, a GM position could be for them.
Interesting. All right. There's one last thing I think we didn't go through. Maybe we want to talk about it, maybe not. Right. If you're not a remote only company, and I guess technically even if you are, You can have other benefits than pay, equity, and profit share, right? You can say insurance, although insurance is such a like once you have people in different countries, ugh, right? Trying to figure out the insurance thing, I looked into it, and I was like, trying to get this sorted out would be 50% of the comp of an employee
Yeah.
per employee. Like at that point, I'm saying I'm paying you whatever X thousand a month, and then 50% of that in managing the other benefits. I'm like, I don't. I think you just because then the profit share goes down, right? You'd
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
just have the money and buy your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you are in a geography and all your team is in the same geography, I think it's much simpler. What do you think about? I mean, the reason why we have health insurance offered through companies is because it was non-taxable compensation you could offer people back when income taxes in the upper third income brackets in North America was plus 60%.
Mm-hmm. And now might just be easier to give them the cash.
It might be. You can't. Obamacare will whack you, but it might be easier
Well, yeah, no, in the U.S., yeah.
in the
Um,
U.S. Yeah.
no, I think we're good for today. We covered quite a bit of different topics
Right.
here on Agency Real Talk number 15.
That's right. Well, you
Uh,
probably won't change the name next week.
probably won't. We're gonna try to
Probably
stick
won't
with this name for the whole year. We'll see if we
for
can
the
do
whole
it.
year. Man, a year, Tom. I don't know, man. That
The
kind of
whole thing.
commitment. That's mighty
52
strong.
weeks. We got to do it.
Oof.
We're in
Oof.
week 3
Week
already
three.
of the
49 more
year.
weeks. I'm gonna have to take up drinking.
No, 40. Yeah, 49. I did
I mean,
math.
52 minus three. I was able to do without taking off my shoes. So,
All right, Trevor. Somebody
all
wants
right.
to find you. Where are they going to find you?
I'm here. You're very possibly watching me stream, or if, as has been consistent the last couple of times, you're watching a rant of mine on Tom's YouTube channel. Go find me, crowdtamers.com. Find me on Instagram at crowdtamers. Find me on YouTube at launch today, because why be consistent? Find me on LinkedIn at Trevor Longino. That's me.
Oh man, you got an array there. Got a
I
nice.
I need to collate it, and instead I did the other thing.
That's okay.
So, how about you, Tom? If someone wants to say, "Hey, I need to know more about Tom,"
If you want to hang out or find us anywhere, we are X-Ray Automation on all the things: LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and
excellent.
YouTube. Most importantly, you can follow us on that. We got new automation and workflow design videos coming out every single week, and we have, for the first time, actually planned a whole bunch of videos out. So
Ooh,
we are really we're rocking it this year. We're gonna have a great roster of new videos coming out. And yeah, just follow along. Thanks for watching if you're watching, and excited to see you next time.
yeah. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks so much, Tom. Take care,
See ya.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.